It's been a month since I married Benjamin, but he always avoids me. Although I had told him before the marriage that ours was just a business alliance and I would divorce him when the time was right, he doesn't have to avoid me to such an extent. Well, it's not a bad thing. After all, I'm still busy going back to take revenge on my step-father and his stupid son. I opened the wardrobe to pick out clothes for meeting business partners tomorrow. I frowned intently. One of my most frequently worn white shirts is missing. I've lost many of my personal clothes these days. I questioned the hourly worker at home. As soon as I finished asking, he knelt down and kowtowed, saying it couldn't be him and he didn't dare. I quickly helped him up. Indeed, both Benjamin and I come from wealthy and powerful families. No fool would come to our house just to steal a few of my clothes. I shifted my suspicious gaze to Benjamin. Whenever I wanted to ask him something, this tall man would run into the room with red ears and his head down. Tisk, it's so hard to catch this alpha. I feel like if I punch him, he'll cry for a long time. Forget it. They're just a few clothes. If he really has some unknown fetish, I respect and wish him well. I lay back on the bed and scrolled through local posts. A hot post caught my attention. The Omega in the arranged marriage is so fierce. My rut is coming soon. What should I do? Arranged marriage? I looked at the address, Longqing Mansion, the high-end villa area where I live. I clicked into the post out of curiosity and saw the poster's complaint. My arranged marriage partner is my senior from school. Before he was differentiated, he could beat 5 alphas by himself. No one in the whole school dared to mess with him. He was the male god of all omegas. If we fight, I'll only get beaten up. On the first day of our marriage, he said coldly that he would divorce me in the future. I almost had a heart attack. As my rut is approaching, I can only steal a few of his clothes to smell the scent to relieve it. But my wife's pheromones smell so good. I should be able to call him that, right? Shy, recently, I can't help but want to bite his neck, but I'm afraid of getting beaten. After reading the post, I was stunned. The person described seems to be myself. So, Benjamin took my clothes for that kind of thing. Rat. I've almost forgotten that alphas have this period. Since I was differentiated into an omega, I've even gotten through my heat by taking excessive inhibitors. But was I really that cold and scary to him? I found the post a bit funny. Maybe I can also start a post with the title, "What should I do with a crybaby alpha husband?" Below are the replies from a group of netizens, rare to see. Are you and your wife's gender differentiations reversed? So funny. It is recommended to go to the hospital for another check. Isn't Longqing Mansion a place only for tycoons? How can there be a crying handsome guy beating 5 alphas by himself? This omega is so fierce. It is recommended that the poster lie down obediently and let the omega take the initiative. Try a relationship where the woman takes the lead, covering mouth and snickering. I refreshed the post, and Benjamin continued to post, "Please, guys, stop joking. All you alphas, please give me some advice. My susceptible period seems to have really come. It's me." Thinking of Benjamin in the second bedroom wrapped in my shirt, enduring his susceptible period, I can't help but feel sorry. I picked my marriage partner myself, but now it seems not good that I'm not fulfilling my marital responsibilities. According to the AO law, after marriage, partners have the obligation to help each other through the susceptible period and the heat period. Otherwise, it can be taken to the marriage court. Or, should I send a message to ask him to come and get a few more of my clothes? I never thought I'd turn into an Omega, so I can't really accept being marked. Moreover, there's no such illusory love between us. It's just a business marriage. I came back to my senses and found that Benjamin had replied to a comment. World's #1 tough alpha, give the Omega a sleeping pill and tie him up with a rope. Then mark him, and he won't be able to resist. I frowned and felt annoyed. What should I do? I'm tempted to call the police. Benjamin replied, Are you serious, bro? That doesn't seem right. Well, I'll try tying the rope then. The smile on my face froze. So, Benjamin, you're such a person. You can know a person's face but not their heart. The alpha I carefully selected is a scumbag. I even felt soft-hearted just now. There was a knock on the door. I looked coldly in that direction, got out of bed, cracked my wrists, and jumped a few times. It's been a long time since I beat someone up. Today, I'll make him infertile. I opened the door with a cold face. Just as I was about to throw a left hook, I was stunned. The tall and handsome alpha's face was now flushed abnormally. His eyes were glistening with tears. He looked at me vaguely, raised his hands tied with a rope, and said in a trembling voice, Brother, you can do whatever you want. Just help me through my susceptible period. I'm so uncomfortable. I tied myself up and won't do anything to you. Please help me. My Adam's apple rolled involuntarily. Looking at the alpha in front of me, my eyes darkened. So, tying the rope meant tying himself up. An alpha who won't resist me. I bent down to pick up the other end of the rope and gently pulled him into the room. This was the first time I felt Benjamin's pheromones. It was faint and sweet, without any aggression, yet it clung to my skin stickily. The smell was like the taro bubble milk tea that my cousin liked to drink the most. I took a sip once. It was a bit cloying, just like his bound hands clinging to the back of my neck at this moment, with his scorching breath spraying on my earlobe, extremely sticky. Sensing his restlessness, my hand stroked from his chest all the way up to his neck. He nuzzled affectionately, completely defenseless. I curled my lips and suddenly tightened my hand. His pheromones suddenly stagnated. His face flushed red, and his Adam's apple rolled rapidly in my palm. There were tears hanging on his long eyelashes. He looked at me in confusion, with a hint of grievance. This alpha was overly beautiful. Benjamin didn't resist. An alpha's pheromones naturally exert pressure on an omega, especially an unmarked omega. Since I differentiated into an omega, I felt that my physical fitness has declined a lot. If Benjamin had any intention of resisting me at this moment, his pheromones could easily suppress me and force me to let go of his neck. And then I would take out the weapon hidden under the pillow and place it on his temple. He was very lucky. His pheromones showed no sign of movement and still clung to my whole body stickily. The hand holding his neck slowly tightened and then loosened. Watching him being controlled in my palm, a strange sense of pleasure welled up in my heart. I'm very happy now. Taming an alpha, what a thrilling thing it is. I originally wanted to get through this period peacefully, but suddenly I became interested in him. I slowly leaned close to his ear and said, Benjamin, be my dog from now on. The alpha, who had been tortured by the rut and lost his senses, just looked at me blankly and nodded randomly because he was eager to get the comfort of my pheromones. I patted his head in satisfaction, and he tilted his head and rubbed against my palm. Good boy, a good doggy can get a reward. I pushed aside his hand on the back of my neck, exposing the most vulnerable gland of an omega. Benjamin's eyes were red. He looked at my nape pitifully but didn't dare to come forward. I pointed at my gland and said, "Bite." Upon receiving the order, Benjamin eagerly buried his head in the crook of my neck. I closed my eyes and felt the sharp teeth pierce through my gland. First, there was a sharp pain, followed by a swelling sensation as the pheromones were injected, and my whole body tingled. I grabbed Benjamin's hair and yanked it hard. He let out a whimper. With a stifled groan in my voice, my usually cold and clear voice was now hoarse. I said, gently. He stopped and carefully licked for a while. The pain instantly subsided, and then he slowly injected his pheromones again, which triggered mine. In the room, the sweet fragrance of taro milk tea with boba intertwined with the bitter aroma of black coffee. When I woke up the next day, the tall alpha's head was still buried in the crook of my neck. I didn't know how we ended up in bed last night. However, I only allowed him to give me the simplest temporary marking. I felt my slightly swollen gland and kicked Benjamin. Being marked was like being bitten by a dog. Well, considering you're my dog, I forgive you. If I were an alpha, I'd mark all the alphas in the world. Benjamin didn't wake up even after I kicked him. An alpha in the susceptible period is the most vulnerable, especially in the first day or two. I glanced at him, wrapped him in the quilt, and then went out. I was just like those domineering presidents in the TV dramas who deny their actions after having a one-night stand. There was something more important to do today. I took out my phone and called my assistant. Daniel, come pick me up and take me to Shishan Tea House. By the way, help me check an account called The World's #1 Tough Alpha. If there are any illegal or criminal acts, report it. I'll send you the account number later. Okay, boss. Do you have any other instructions? I looked at the door and licked my lips. Also, bring me a cup of taro milk tea with boba. Add more sugar. Okay, boss. I happily curled my lips. After drinking too much bitter black coffee, trying sweet milk tea seemed like a good choice. I sat cross-legged in front of the table. The tea smoke curled up in the room, making it very relaxing. After the tea artist finished making the tea, she left the tea room. Henry, are you sure you're not here to cause trouble? Drinking milk tea in a professional tea house. Ha ha ha, is this your new taste? Has your taste changed after you became an omega? The man in front of me looked 6 or 7 tenths similar to Benjamin, but he didn't have Benjamin's beautiful face. His features were more profound and sharp. His eyebrows were raised, and his eyes were full of sharpness. He spoke with authority. He was a natural alpha leader. He was the first-in-line heir of the Jiang family, Benjamin's older brother, Michael, and also my friend from college. He just returned to the country recently. I lowered my eyes and took a sip of tea lightly. The milk tea was too sweet to drink, and said indifferently, "Stop talking nonsense. How about the plan I told you before? Are you interested in investing?" Michael straightened his face and said, "Henry, I believe in your ability. The mess in your family is really disgusting. I've read your business plan. It's very valuable. I'll work with you, buddy. There's nothing new in the wealthy family circle. It's just that my father had an affair and brought back a younger brother who is half a year younger than me. It's just, my Omega father committed by jumping off a building. I lowered my gaze and gritted my teeth. I'll always remember the desperate and numb look in my father's eyes when he looked out of the window. An Omega who has been completely marked can no longer break free from the Alpha's control. That day, my father lay on the ground like a rose, with the red blood spreading. There was a smile on his extremely beautiful face. He was free. If an Omega who has been completely marked doesn't get the comfort of their lover's pheromones during the heat period for a long time, they will have pheromone disorder and then become depressed and self-harm. My father was by my alpha father and that mistress. At that time, I couldn't control myself and roared. I picked up a pair of scissors and wanted to stab those 3 people. But my alpha father grabbed my neck like pinching a dog and threw me aside, leaving me completely helpless. At that time, there was only fear in my heart. He said I was sick and locked me up. 1 month later, I was released. I put on a mask and stared at my step-father who had successfully taken over the position, smiling amiably. I called him Dad affectionately, which almost scared him to the ground. The more excellent I am, the more of a fool the son brought back by the mistress seems. I pretended to be a good son, got familiar with the company's affairs, and secretly contacted the shareholders in the company. It's a pity that everything was ruined when I differentiated into an Omega, while that stupid younger brother is an Alpha. The whispers in my step-father's ear made my father recall my madness. A list of alphas from powerful families in the circle was thrown on my desk. Of course, they are all the second sons in their families. My step-father won't let me live a good life. Out of desperation, I followed Michael's advice and chose his younger brother, my junior, Benjamin. That poor little thing who was surrounded by 5 alphas before he had his secondary gender differentiation and looked at me tearfully. I forced a smile at Michael and said, "Welcome to join. However, I need you to push someone to the forefront." My step-father is still eyeing me. I'm afraid of tipping him off. That's not a problem. Then he changed the subject and said playfully, "How are you getting along with my brother? He was spoiled since childhood. You, this violent one, don't bully him." I put a pheromone blocking patch on my gland, so others can't sense Benjamin's pheromone on me. Thinking of that alpha who was obediently held by the neck by me, I involuntarily showed a friendly smile and said, "We're getting along well. Your brother is very obedient." Michael shivered and said, "Henry, I'm scared when you smile like this." Thinking of the alpha who obediently let me grab his neck, I involuntarily showed a friendly smile. "We're getting along quite well. Your younger brother is very well behaved." Michael shivered. "Henry, your smile scares me." I discussed cooperation matters with Michael for an entire afternoon. It was not until after dinner in the evening that my assistant Daniel sent me home. There is an aunt who comes to cook every day. At this time, the dishes on the table were already cold and no one had touched them. I looked at the aunt and asked, "Didn't Benjamin come down for dinner? I couldn't find Mr. Jiang. I don't know if he went out. Benjamin's rut has just begun. I'm afraid he doesn't have the energy to go out." I went upstairs and opened my bedroom. Benjamin, who should have been sleeping soundly in the quilt on the bed, was gone. I went to his bedroom again. There was still no one there. I helplessly rubbed my forehead. You can't guess the thoughts of an alpha in rut. I called his name a few times and then heard some movement coming from my cloakroom. I pushed open the door. The clothes that were originally neatly stacked were now piled up messily. I bent down and rummaged for a while and successfully caught an alpha who was making a nest. Benjamin was wrapped in my clothes all over his body. His face was flushed. The sweet milk, tea smell on his body wrapped around the bitter coffee smell, forming a wonderful scent. When he saw me, he suddenly pounced on me, just like a big dog seeing its owner coming home, and threw himself into my arms. Under normal circumstances, he would never dare to get so close to me. His voice was hoarse and sticky. He put his arms around my waist and said, "Why did you go out for so long, brother?" The strong possessiveness of an alpha towards his omega made his pheromone wrap me tightly. I also couldn't help but be a little moved, and my voice softened. I had something to do. But brother, Benjamin's voice suddenly became dangerous. Why does your body smell like another alpha? His fingertips rubbed the pheromone, blocking patch on my gland. Doesn't brother like my pheromone? Why do you deliberately cover it up? My eyes gradually turned cold. Benjamin had crossed the line. I reached out my hand to cover his mouth and nose, slowly tightening my 5 fingers, and coldly said, "Benjamin, you can only take what I give you. As for who I'm with, you have no right to interfere." Understood? I lifted my eyelids to look at him. His face was flushed red due to the sense of suffocation. He nodded slightly, and there was a wet feeling on the palm of my hand. Benjamin licked my palm flatteringly. I let go of my hand. The corners of his eyes were red, and he looked at me aggrievedly. "I was wrong, brother. Can we sleep together today?" I gently wiped away the tears from the corners of the alpha's eyes. Looking at his surprised expression, I approached his ear with a malicious pleasure and said, "No. This is your punishment." Watching the tall alpha hang his head under my teasing, like a disappointed puppy, I smiled with pleasure. The next day, I couldn't smile anymore. Benjamin wrapped his pheromones around every piece of clothing in my cloakroom. It was so strong that even my assistant 3 meters away could feel it. Daniel is a beta. Although he can't smell pheromones, the strong alpha aura made him drive uneasily all the way and almost ran a red light. No one would be so inconsiderate as to randomly release their pheromones on the street. No one. Except for alphas who are sick during their susceptible period. I sprayed perfume on myself with a gloomy face. Damn it. This is just like being marked by a dog peeing. It makes everyone who gets close to me know that I have an alpha. I wanted to catch Benjamin and beat him up this morning, but I couldn't find him. I actually forgot to ask Daniel to bring me a new set of clothes. I was really dizzy with anger. Michael, who was meeting me, looked at me in surprise. "I didn't expect you to get along so well with my younger brother." I forced a smile and looked at Michael. "I'll give him some good treatment when I get back." After discussing matters with Michael for a week, we ended up on the hot search. #Henry seduces his brother, in Law and rekindles old love. #The white moonlight of the Jiang family's eldest son is actually his brother, in Law. In the wealthy family's tragic love. Love you so, marry your younger brother. The second son of the Jiang family becomes the biggest cuckold in the wealthy family. The pictures included secretly taken photos of me and Michael entering and leaving the tea house, as well as our group photos from college. Ugh, just thinking about getting married and marked by Michael makes me feel sick and want to vomit. I spoke to Michael expressionlessly on the phone. "My step-father bought the hot search. He's really keeping an eye on me. But it's okay that he's misunderstood. With his brain, he really can't come up with anything more valuable." Michael said with a smile in his voice, "I don't really care, but won't your alpha make a fuss? Don't underestimate an alpha's possessiveness. Explain it to him properly. Thinking of the alpha who had been well behaved under my care these days, I raised my eyebrows and said confidently, he won't. Then Benjamin disappeared. Looking at the empty room, I punched the wall. The susceptible period is over, so he can just run around, right? This feeling of losing control of what belongs to me gave rise to an inexplicable sense of tyranny in my heart. It was like being choked by my alpha father. My knuckles turned white from clenching. I don't care. I lowered my eyes, took out a can of milk tea candies and poured them into my mouth, crunching on them noisily. In a flash, I grabbed the car keys and started speeding on the road. He can't escape. I stared fiercely at the little red dot on the map. I installed a positioning system on Benjamin's phone while he was sleeping. When I arrived at the place, through the car window, I saw the luxurious and decadent bar in front of me and licked my lips. I hope Benjamin won't disappoint me. The bar manager led me all the way to the vicinity of the booth where Benjamin was. He was sitting with a group of second-generation scions in the circle. My stupid step-brother Samuel was also there. When I got closer, I waved my hand to let the manager go about his own business. I'd like to see what my puppy is doing here. I found a booth not far from theirs and sat down, swirling the glass in my hand. Through the orange-yellow liquid, I saw Benjamin being forced to take a sip of wine by the people around him, with a pained look on his face. A thin layer of pink had spread across his slender neck. He was incredibly beautiful. I stared straight at Benjamin's neck, crossed my legs, and involuntarily rolled my Adam's apple. I really want to grab it, and cut off the hands and feet of those who touched him. I took a sip of wine and tried hard to control the impulse that was about to burst out. An unruly puppy. He's still more suited to being taken home by me to drink milk tea and coffee. The area where the wealthy young men gathered was much quieter. I could faintly hear their conversation. My stupid younger brother, Samuel, who was sitting next to Benjamin, was the most enthusiastic in egging him on. Benjamin, it must be tough for you being married to that violent Omega, Henry, right? Tell us all about it. Ha ha ha. Benjamin silently took a sip of his drink and said nothing. Could it be that you've been beaten silly at home? Benjamin stared at the liquid in his glass and after a long while, he said, Brother Henry is very good to me. Oh? Samuel leaned in. If Henry is so good to you, why are you out here drinking your sorrows away with us? What on earth happened? Tell us. Big brothers will analyze it for you. Seeing Samuel getting closer to him, I couldn't help but pop a few milk tea candies into my mouth and chew on them noisily. Later, I'm going to wash every inch of Benjamin's body with my pheromones. Benjamin slightly dodged Samuel and said hoarsely, Really, it's nothing. I just simply felt like having a drink. Suddenly, one of Samuel's lackeys held up his phone and exclaimed in a sarcastic tone, Oh my God, Brother Mingchen, why is Henry with your older brother? The top trending topic says they're a match made in heaven. And it also says that you're the cuckold. Is it really true? Benjamin's face instantly turned pale. I looked at Samuel with a dark look in my eyes. He's really good at staging this whole thing. Samuel intensified his efforts to stab at Benjamin's heart. I knew Henry wasn't a good guy. No, he isn't. Benjamin kept muttering to himself. Shut up. Benjamin gradually raised his head, his deep black eyes meeting Samuel's. He's just a promiscuous man who seduced your older brother. Pa! I think he just wanted to climb up to the status of the heir of the Jiang family, Michael. He just looks down on you. I told you to shut your stinking mouth. Bang! Benjamin punched Samuel to the ground. The wine bottles and glasses on the table clattered to the floor and shattered into pieces. The strong aroma of milk tea instantly spread all around. The usually faint and harmless pheromones unexpectedly became pungent. Several omegas let out screams and were led away by the bar staff. But these pheromones showed no hostility towards me. Instead, they clung to my body and made me feel a little weak all over. Lying on the ground, Samuel's eyes turned red. He angrily wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and roared at Benjamin, "Damn it, are you crazy, Benjamin? Why aren't you going to beat Henry? Why are you hitting me? I didn't cheat." Benjamin hung his head so that his eyes couldn't be seen. He slowly picked up the wine bottle beside him. It slowly scraped across the table, making a hissing sound. Henry is my wife. No one can say a word against him. He can do whatever he wants. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. Benjamin picked up the wine bottle and smashed it down on Samuel's head. Instantly, Samuel's head was bleeding. So satisfying. Benjamin did what I've wanted to do since I was 16. The scene gradually became chaotic. Samuel's minions joined in the fight, while the second-generation rich kids who didn't want to cause trouble just ran away. The hotel manager was pleading desperately beside but didn't dare to get close. The pheromones of various alphas were mixed here, and the pheromones of high-level alphas had a natural suppressing power. Amidst them were a few angry curses from Samuel, who kicked me. "Go and beat Benjamin." Damn it, no one told me that Benjamin could fight so well after his differentiation. I also didn't expect Benjamin to be so good at fighting. The person in front of me was completely different from the puppy who had been grabbed by the neck by me and was red-eyed, begging for mercy. My stupid younger brother was being beaten by Benjamin and couldn't get up. If this continued and he was in life-threatening danger, Benjamin would be in big trouble. Thanks to the protection of Benjamin's pheromones left on me, I managed to walk into this area. "Benjamin, that's enough," I said calmly. With just this simple sentence, Benjamin stopped his punching, and several of Samuel's lackeys even trembled all over. Every single alpha here had been beaten by me. Before, when they saw me on the road, they would tuck their tails between their legs and call me brother. "Henry! Why are you here?" Samuel shouted at the top of his lungs, and Benjamin silently gave him another kick. With red, rimmed eyes, he turned around, walked over, hugged my waist, and obediently placed his head in the crook of my neck. "Brother, they beat me. It hurts so much." Then cold teardrops fell on the crook of my neck. His acting are great. I like it very much. I stroked his head and bit his earlobe. "I'll punish you later." He let out a muffled groan and didn't move, but his ears slowly turned red. "Are you two acting out a romantic drama in front of me? Do you even respect me? So noisy." My gaze slowly shifted to my stupid younger brother's face, and I kicked him. This noisy toad finally fell silent and fainted. I tilted my chin at the few stunned alphas around. "Don't you even send him to the hospital? Are you waiting to collect his corpse?" Yes, yes, yes. We'll carry him away right now." Samuel's lackeys finally came to their senses, grabbed his hands and feet, and scurried away in a black coffin-carrying posture. I grabbed Benjamin's tie and walked outside. He obediently followed behind, and his pheromones also subsided. There was no sign of the person who had been beating someone just now. After getting in the car, I squeezed Benjamin's neck with both hands. Seeing his face turn red, a sense of satisfied security welled up in my heart. I kissed his Adam's apple and listened to him make a sound of impatience. The car was filled with the bitter aroma of coffee. My heart was pounding. I gritted my teeth and moved closer to his neck. Let me mark you, okay? Only a marked puppy won't run around. Benjamin gasped a few times. His eyes were alluring as he responded in a low voice, okay. I licked my lips. I would be the first omega in the world to mark an alpha. I couldn't help but get excited and bit down on Benjamin's gland. An alpha's gland doesn't have the function to absorb pheromones. Benjamin let out a pained groan. Blood flowed out. I wiped the corner of my mouth and let him go. I'm yours now. Benjamin looked at me aggrievedly with tears in his eyes. Tut, what a crybaby. He leaned in and buried his head in my neck. Actually, I knew it was my brother's pheromone the first time I smelled it. But you two didn't do anything, right? He looked up at me tearfully, like a puppy on the roadside waiting to be taken home. It was so unfair. I averted my gaze and didn't know how to answer. I never needed to explain anything to others. I coughed and said awkwardly, I was just discussing business with your brother. Benjamin's eyes lit up instantly, as if he had a tail wagging wildly behind him. Being stared at so intensely, I suddenly felt at a loss. Do you want something to drink? I just realized for the first time that I would say stupid things when I was nervous. I almost wanted to take back those words as soon as they left my mouth. He slowly moved closer to my lips. Blushing, he mumbled, order a taro boba milk tea. No milk tea, no taro, just boba. Okay. His hot breath hit my face. The alpha's pheromones were slowly released. Before I could react, a shy kiss was planted on my lips. I felt my face flush for the first time. So sweet. It's my taste. The next day, Michael sent me a screenshot of Samuel's WeChat moments and asked curiously, what did you do with my brother? This guy ended up in the hospital with a cast on. I saw that Samuel was scolding in his moments, damn Henry, what kind of is it to do a couple's mixed doubles? Fight me 1-on-1. All of you, if you curry favor with Henry, every single one of you is my enemy. I sneered. The son of a mistress is just so immature. Who in the circle with any status would look up to him? Every single one of you who fawns over Henry is my enemy. I scoffed. The son of a mistress is just so immature. In this circle, who with any dignity would look up to him? These days, my stepfather has been calling me, but I've hung up every time. They're different, they don't even dare to say a word. After all, in terms of power and influence, the Xia family has declined. Otherwise, they wouldn't have thought of arranging a marriage for me. Back then, my alpha father's business was booming, and it couldn't have done so without the support of my father's family. Once that support was gone, big problems arose. And I've been in frequent contact with the Liu family, my Omega father's family, gradually nibbling away at the Xia family's shares. Now everything is ready, and the first step is to win that crucial bid. The bidding is over, and of course, the real winner behind the scenes is me. My company is thriving, while Samuel lost the bid. I heard that after just recovering from his injuries, he was beaten up badly again. After that, His business kept failing under my various attacks. He went crazy, asking everywhere who on earth had made him lose so miserably. Henry, your younger brother wants to visit you and has sent a big gift. I sat with my legs crossed and took a sip of coffee. Then let's meet him. Samuel walked into the meeting room with a flattering look on his face, but his eyes almost popped out when he saw me. How could it be you, Henry? You've been playing me. He looked as if he'd eaten something disgusting. You've been behind all the things that have happened to me? I replied cheerfully, looking at him leisurely. Are you satisfied? My poor, stupid little brother. Get out of here. You're not my brother. How dare you, an Omega, play tricks on me? I'll fight you. With that, he released his stinky pheromones, trying to suppress me. The pheromone concentration alarm in the meeting room rang violently. Samuel rushed towards me quickly, but was kicked flying by someone and lay motionless on the ground. Benjamin, you too will come to a bad end. Benjamin's pheromones pinned Samuel down so that he couldn't get up, and I stepped on his face with my shiny leather shoes. Samuel, what right do you have to bark at me now? He stared at me with bloodshot eyes. Just wait for father to settle the score with you. Oh? I smiled playfully. My father? He should be having enough trouble with himself, right? In the next short month, the Xie Group was exposed for a scandal, and its stock price plummeted. With the help of the Jiang and Lu families, I bought a large number of shares. Amid my alpha father's furious roars, I was elected the new chairman of the Xie Group. Father, you're old. It's time to rest. I patted my father's trembling face. He'd been tied up by me, and soon he could go to the best nursing home in the world to spend his old age. I'm such a dutiful son. I smiled and looked at the man in front of me. Dad would be very happy if he knew. The place you're going to won't have any other people's pheromones. You'll spend your susceptible periods in pain until you go crazy. Ha ha ha, become a complete lunatic. I might as well send your lover and stupid son there with you. I showed a strange smile. Tie you up and let them feed you, wipe your ass and piss, and watch you become a useless person. A madman. Do you think they'll still love you? Ha 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 ha. I laughed and walked out, with my father's crazy roars behind me. I didn't look back. After officially taking over the Xie family's business, my status was suddenly different from those second-generation heirs. All kinds of strange people flocked to me. I looked at the young and handsome alpha in front of me and quietly listened to him talking eloquently about his plan. His name is William, a junior from the Lin family. Since he's an outsider in his family, he's trying to get a little bit of gold from between my fingers. Henry, what do you think? The person opposite me looked at me intently with pure and gentle eyes, like the tamest deer. But I felt his leather shoes tremblingly rubbing against my calf and sliding all the way up. It's quite good. I looked at him expressionlessly. William seemed to have received some kind of permission. He excitedly picked up the wine glass and approached me. Thank you, Brother Xie. I'll toast you. I glanced at him and kicked him in the back of his knee. He immediately knelt on the ground, and the red liquid spilled on his shirt. It actually looked quite appetizing. The alpha in front of me wasn't angry. He knelt on the ground and looked up at me, his voice trembling. Brother Xie, I'll listen to you more than Benjamin. He's just a useless person and doesn't deserve you. I hooked my lips into a smile, sat on the sofa with my legs crossed, and looked down at him disdainfully. There's no difference among alphas, omegas, and betas in the face of absolute power. I gently kicked with my toe, and William's face was turned to the side. I grabbed his tie and declared in his ear, "If he's a useless person, you're the scum on the ground. You're not even qualified to be my dog." William slumped on the ground dejectedly. I stepped over him without looking sideways and walked out of the meeting room. "Kick him out. Don't report this kind of person to me again. Also, prepare a new set of clothes for me. Otherwise, my puppy will be jealous." My little dog not only gets jealous but also becomes extremely anxious. Am I really useless? As an alpha? Benjamin looked at me with red, rimmed eyes. I kissed his forehead and said, "There's no rule that omegas have to be weak and alphas have to be strong. I really like the way you are now." I took a deep sniff at his gland. If possible, I even wanted to lock you in the room forever. However, Benjamin wasn't without his own career. I was very surprised when I learned that his painting had won an award. Although I knew before that he seemed to be an art student, I had never really gotten to know him in depth. During the spring festival, I went back to his home with Benjamin. After dinner, Michael gave me a sly smile and said, "My younger brother has finally achieved his wish. It's worth all the trouble I've taken." I looked at him in confusion. Michael glanced at Benjamin, who was being held back by his family, and quietly waved me over. "Come here. I'll show you something good, something that will make my brother me." Hee. I had high expectations for this good thing that would make Benjamin his older brother, but when I actually saw it, I was still shocked. The 100-square-meter studio was densely filled with my portraits and photos. Michael shivered as he rubbed his arm and said, "I was really scared when I first saw it. At that time, I thought, oh no, my younger brother is a creep. The person he likes is so unlucky. But later I found out that you seem to be a bit of a creep too." Ha ha ha. I walked over and touched one of the portraits. Most of these paintings showed me when I was younger and more innocent. Why? My voice was a bit hoarse. Michael scratched his head, looking a bit embarrassed to say, "My younger brother has been quite weak since childhood. During high school, I went abroad to study. I heard that he was badly bullied, and you came to his rescue like a divine being descending from the sky. He sent me messages every day, saying that there was someone who could fight 5 alphas alone and that you were his idol and so on. I was so sick of hearing it. The most absurd thing is, he said that after he differentiated into an omega, he must marry you. I told him to be realistic at that time. You two hadn't even met. Then this studio came into being." Michael gave me a sidelong glance and said, "Do you know why I insisted on being friends with you in college?" The corners of my mouth curled up involuntarily. I tilted my head and motioned for him to continue. "It was all because that little brat went to an art college. He begged me to be friends with you. He also asked me to take pictures of you and send them to him." I really lost all my face. I couldn't help laughing. No wonder I thought Michael was acting weird for a while in college. I almost thought he was a creep. And then? Michael sighed. "It's just the irony of fate. I originally thought that your Xie family and our Jiang family were well matched. I planned to introduce you two when the time was right. Who would have thought that you'd turn into an omega while he became an alpha?" After he first went through his secondary gender differentiation, he cried at home for 3 whole days and nights. He almost cried himself blind. I felt so sorry for him. Fortunately, not long after, news spread in the circle that you'd become an Omega and your family was looking for an Alpha for you. Originally, the Xia family was in great financial trouble at that time, and my family didn't want to get involved in unnecessary trouble. But that kid happily submitted his profile. And he even made me, his elder brother, humble myself to marry him off. I've really had bad luck. During that time, Michael kept telling me how well behaved and obedient his younger brother was. I didn't suspect anything at that time. I just thought we were good friends and he wanted to help me. I never thought the truth behind it would be like this. My fingers gently stroked those rows of paintings. Every stroke was so delicate. Maybe Benjamin was sitting on the playground at that time, or maybe he passed by my window, or maybe he quietly hid behind a pillar and watched me silently. Are you scared? I shook my head. I, who had rarely felt love, actually felt a full sense of security in this studio. I didn't find it creepy. Instead, I felt warm in my heart. I even wanted to open a gallery right away and keep my Alpha there. That's great. I'm a pervert. You're also a pervert. None of us needs to feel guilty towards the other. After going downstairs with Michael, I saw Benjamin running over out of breath. His face was flushed and he was extremely beautiful. Where did my brother take you? I put my cold hands on his warm neck and looked at him with a smile. Your brother took me to your room for a walk. He let out a sigh of relief, reached out to hug me, and put his chin on my shoulder. Please never ever leave me, okay? I'll be very obedient. I gently whispered in his ear, I love you very much. His ears turned red, and the hands around my waist tightened. I won't betray you. I knew he wasn't unable to fight me, nor was he afraid of me. He just was willing to be tamed by me. Extra story, Benjamin, I've been in poor health since I was a child, but I have an elder brother who is excellent in every aspect. I grew up under his halo. He protected me, but it also made others look down on me even more. In high school, my brother went abroad, and I became the target of bullying at school. Everyone is from a wealthy and powerful family, and no one is inferior. It's just that I'm thin and don't like to talk, so they get more pleasure from bullying me. It's quite ridiculous, isn't it? But that's just how real it is. Bullies don't need any reason. I thought I was so useless and didn't tell my family anything. That day, I was blocked by 5 peers who had been early differentiated into alphas. I covered my head and silently counted how long the beating would last, but then I heard screams one after another. The person who saved me gave me a cold look and said indifferently, "Kid, cheer up." Without waiting for my response, he threw his school uniform on his back and left with a handsome and sharp back view. At that moment, my heart was pounding wildly. Back in the art studio, I desperately painted that back view and that look in his eyes, wanting to engrave them on my body forever and make him mine forever. After that, no one bothered me anymore. Only then did I know that he was a senior 1 grade higher than me and the male god pursued by the whole school. A man who was considered to be the highest level alpha even before his differentiation. Omegas regarded him as their dream lover, and alphas followed his lead. I thought my feelings for him were just admiration, but gradually I got out of control. I followed him and frantically collected information about him. Even, I filled an entire art studio with his paintings. Until I dreamed of him in my dream and talked to him affectionately. My elder brother said I was crazy and wanted to send me to the hospital. I shook my head and calmly said, I'm not crazy. I just want to have him. I was very devastated after I was differentiated into an alpha, but I didn't give up. I consulted a professional institution about the possibility and precautions of two alphas being together. Until the news that Henry was differentiated into an omega came, I was excited for a moment and then my heart sank instantly. How could brother Henry, such a proud person, be pinned down by others? Just thinking about it makes me want to crush that person. Brother Henry likes those who are obedient. A blush rose on my face, and my whole body trembled uncontrollably. Only I am the most suitable for him. Brother Henry's marriage partner can only be me. I used some underhanded means to make Brother Henry choose me, but I did it all for Brother Henry's good. As I wished, we got married. I lowered my head and dared not look at him, covering my eyes with my fringe. He smiled and said, "Don't be afraid. This is just a business marriage, and we'll get divorced later." Yes, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that if I look up, he'll see my eyes full of love. I sniffed the stolen shirt but didn't dare to get any closer to him. It wasn't until my susceptible period came that I finally had a reason to get close to him. I knocked on his door and looked at him in his favorite posture. I felt the desire in his eyes. His hands touched my skin, and I couldn't help but tremble. He grabbed my neck, and I couldn't control my excitement. More, as long as it's you, I can take more. Be my dog from now on, Benjamin, he said, getting closer to me. I nodded. Brother Henry, as long as you're not annoyed, you can hold this leash for a lifetime. But once you hold this leash, you can never abandon this little dog. The next day, I changed my online name to I'm Brother Henry's Dog, and posted a message, black coffee and taro milk tea with boba are the perfect match. Filing number, YXXBPDK9PKL17NMXM5BYFKD8.